you?
Not good.
What's wrong?
It's just that I'm having trouble connecting with my students. I can tell that they're never engaged and their test scores reflect that.
Keeping students engaged is one of the hardest parts of our jobs. What sort of techniques are you using?
I typically write a problem on the board that the students need to solve when they first walk into class. And then I have them take notes on what I wrote on the whiteboard.
I think I know why you aren't connecting with your students.
Really? Why?
Think about it, Marissa. We live in a digital world. These kids live and breathe technology. Therefore, to reach them, we need to incorporate what they know and love.
But I don't know anything about technology. I've never taken a computer class. I just don't think it's worth it to take all that time to learn how to use all that fancy technology. I just don't think it'll make a difference.
Trust me, Marissa, using technology in the classroom will be worth it in the end. Let me tell you a little story about my own experience with technology in my classroom.
About a year ago, in my very own classroom, I too refused to use technology. I thought that writing their notes and drawing their pictures on the board would suffice, but I was mistaken. My students were living in a different time, and I was surely behind. Since I did not use any technology in my classroom, my students began to lose interest. They stopped paying attention to me and started paying attention to their own little technological devices they brought to class. I knew something was wrong. Their grades were slipping. Even the top students in my class failed to achieve at their highest ability. I first began to blame the students, but then realized that it wasn't them failing me. I was failing them. The digital world was all around us, and I was a fool not to use it in my classroom. My teaching style was old-fashioned, and I knew I needed to change. So I took a course on how to incorporate technology into my classroom, and from that moment on, my classroom has never been the same. The students are not only engaged, but they are interested in what they are learning. By bringing their interest to them, I was finally able to connect with my students, and therefore help them achieve to their greatest abilities.
How marvelous! I never thought about it that way. What types of technology do you use?
Well, my personal favorite is the smartboard. It's the best thing a teacher can have. It makes everything so much more visual, which really helps get the kids' attention. It also makes everything so much more active, so the kids can get more involved.
Every day, I prepare my lesson as a PowerPoint. I include animated pictures, graphs, and links to other sites directly in my lesson. One time in class, I put up pictures of different shapes on the smartboard and scattered all the names below them. I then had every student come up to the board and match the shape with its name. Another time, when we were learning about graphing data, I could sense they couldn't grasp the topic, so I created an interactive graph right in front of them and let them come up and punch in the data. The students loved coming up to the board, and these visuals really helped them learn the topic. The best part is that the smartboard allows me to record my voice and everything I do on the screen, so I can put my lesson online for the students to review.
That's amazing! Even students that miss class will be able to keep up.
Exactly. It also has programs that allow me to hook up the students' calculators, which allows them to interact on the board.
Whenever we work with graphs, I have them put the data into their graphing section of their calculator. I then call one student up to the board and connect their calculator to the smartboard. From there, we analyze the student's graph together to compare it to all the other students and make sure that they know how to enter the data exactly and that the data they entered is right.
This brings me to another great piece of technology, which is response clickers. The students will log into their individual clickers and answer the questions I put up on the screen. Their answers instantly go to the screen, and I can tell who's answered and how many people answered each question. It's a great way to have quizzes in class.
One thing I like to do is have the students grab clickers when they first walk into class. I usually put questions on the board from what they learned the day before. The students then respond to the questions with their clickers, and once they're all finished, we go over the correct answers, and we also interpret the graphs that display the distribution of answers.
I never thought to do things like that.
I didn't either until I took a computer class. Now, the last piece of technology I suggest you use is simply computers.
Students love working independently on a computer, and there are tons of math programs out there for them to use. One program I like to use is called Geometry Sketchpad. This allows students to create shapes, but also measure everything that they are using. About every other week, I take my students to the computer lab and assign them problems on the Geometry Sketchpad so they become familiar with the program. Then, after they learn the program, I will give them quizzes where they have to do more difficult problems with the program. It is really interactive, and the students seem to really enjoy it.
Well, I think you've convinced me to use technology in my classroom now.
I promise it'll be worth it in the end.